Welcome back, my awesome people. Today, I am honored to be here with Mike Early, who is the CEO and founder of Finparency and took lead control of Lumity. So these two companies are actually breaking through to how you are dealing with business, insurance. And right now, with so many things going on in the world, we have politics getting involved in healthcare. We have politics getting involved in small businesses. These two companies are the perfect addition to your small business, medium-sized business, or anything that you are doing, not only for the employees, but also for the benefits of the business as well. So if you are a small business owner, a business owner in general, or someone who deals with insurance or looking for employee benefits or looking to expand your benefit system, stay tuned to the end because Mike Early is going to give us some wisdom and information that personally I am looking forward to hearing about. So, Mike Early, welcome to the Another Jacob Rant channel. How are you doing today?
I appreciate it, Jacob. I'm doing well, hanging in there.
We all are. We all are. So thank you for being here with me today. I know it's such a busy time. I'm so looking forward to the information. My audience is looking forward to the information because usually we have stocks and bonds and ETFs on this channel, but it's always great to start looking at businesses as well because a business is also a form of an investment. So let's get right into it. So Mike, can you tell us a little bit about your journey, how you started, founding Finparency, and also taking lead on Lumity?
Yeah, I was born and raised in St. Louis, Missouri. Then met my wife to be, lived in Chicago for a long time, now in Atlanta with our two kids. And I started in finance and realized very quickly I don't want to stay as officially in a finance role. No offense to anybody who's in a finance role, it's very important. I found a lot of passion around go to market and really solving clients' needs and sales in general. So I really started my career in United Health Group. A little bit before that was CNA, but United Health Group and going up the ranks of United Health Group, which owns United Healthcare, moved on to Highmark and some of their ancillary lines like Davis Vision. Found my way through a lot of carriers and then the employee benefit brokerage side of Aon and Hewitt, and then the HR tech side. So HR tech being Hodges Mason Atlanta, and we sold eventually to Alight. And now I'm in two businesses. So Lumity, which I know we're going to talk about, owned by Alira ultimately in the United States predominantly, and then my founding company, Finparency. So that's probably more than you wanted, but that's a little bit about my background.
No, we love that. You know, once you get into a field, you never know where that field will take you. You start off in finance, and now you're starting your own pretty much platforms that are helping other businesses and other entrepreneurs. So yeah, let's get right into it. So we're gonna break this up into two pieces. We're gonna start with Lumity, and then we're gonna get into Finparency. But to start with Lumity, what inspired you to take lead of Lumity, even though you didn't found it? And how did the original vision to what it is now?
Yeah, the two original founders are in Silicon Valley, and they were very passionate that there had to be better ways to ultimately provide employee benefits, find employee benefits, really source the employee benefits, and frankly, negotiate with the carriers. It's unbelievable. And I know you live in Toronto and your system's different than it is in the United States. But in the United States, we have what looks like one big system across the US, but it's controlled by the 50 states, and they each have their own Department of Insurance, and the rules are a little bit different by each state. But at the end of the day, you have insurance carriers that are competing to earn your business. And we are seeing trend rates in the US just skyrocket in ultimate cost. So these founders knew there was a better way to really control that evolution of trend. And how could we use technology to address it? Well, they ended up selling the organization, a big portion of that organization, to the parent company called Alira. And Alira is an employee benefits and P&C and wealth management type of insurance broker. And now they had an entire technology arm, a digital broker. And they wanted somebody to lead that. And they reached out to me a while ago, and I've been leading it for about 6 months. And it's been great. There's a whole bunch of things that we can address there. There's nothing more energetic and exciting than employee benefits. So I could really We talk about copays, maybe deductibles, and all kinds of interesting stuff. So it's wherever you want to take it on that front. But there's a lot that we can talk about there.
Oh, 100%. And we definitely will talk about it because I know right now, yes, you're absolutely correct. Out here in Canada, our healthcare system is a little bit, well, I would say a lot different than the United States. But hey, we still have crazy problems here as well. And we have to somehow reform it or streamline it or do something because it is unfortunately a breaking system out here where I am. So now going back to Lumity, how do you use data to personalize employee benefits for the company? Are we going with the traditional method of flipping a bunch of papers and looking at the numbers, or are we using maybe AI to filter through all those tedious jobs?
Yeah, twofold, twofold. So put all the papers aside, and there's two ways we're going to address this really. So we're using our technology behind the scenes to pull the data from all the different carriers each and every year on behalf of our clients, and pulling that in to really negotiate and offer the best renewals to those clients and find the best insurance, medical insurance, vision, dental, etc., so that they can get the best rates on a fully insured basis. And that's basically our audience, our fully insured clients here. So when they're doing that, how you pull that information in from the carriers into our technology, that is all tech driven. That is all data driven. And we personalize that because we're trying to really keep it to particular trend lines. We're trying to keep it to particular cost levels for that employer while without compromising the employee's benefits. But that employee is the transition point. That's the other side of this equation. How do they see the benefits? How is it presented to them? How is it helping them find the right doctor with the best quality? How are we really using all these different benefit information and guides to create the explanation of benefits and everything else that goes into this? So we've created this in the technology to superimpose that information from a world of paper into tech for the employer, and at the same time doing that in a different venue inside the technology for the employee, which has been not an easy thing. And that was going back to the founders back in Silicon Valley, but we've really been building upon that for these last several years.
Oh, best believe it. AI technology is such a reward of our generation because imagine having to go through the thousands and thousands of documents, numbers, trying to crunch them together to find data information about your employees or about anything pretty much these days. And so when you say, because I know you did mention something about modern benefits, what was the difference between right now's modern benefits compared to the traditional models that we're all, used to?
Well, unfortunately, the entire industry has not evolved a ton. I wish it would. There's some hesitance because as we keep saying AI is being ingrained in everything we do. Those who aren't using AI will be left behind. And I reflect on that with the employee benefit industry. So I'm not dodging your question. I don't want to lose it. Don't let me lose that question. But there's one important thing to think about because AI is a little used with skepticism in the HR world. So we just saw there was a major lawsuit against some technologies that are using AI for candidates on the front end of HR tech, where AI is sifting through different profiles and only showing certain profiles. And there's some controversy in the industry on, is that right? Is that not right? Is it wrongly suppressing other people's information? Conversely, we're seeing controversy because AI is being used by the big insurers to approve or deny claims. Not all insurers are doing it the same way. And by the way, I don't think that's a bad thing. Ultimately, I think we better embrace as an industry that this is the reality of technology and we need it. But there's a lot of skepticism out there, and this is a very sensitive topic. So I know your audience is a savvy audience and you want the answer of where's AI adding a lot of value in this industry that needs to change. But we need to change very, very methodically because if you're a consumer of healthcare and you're worried, at least in the US, that somebody's going to deny your coverage, deny your benefit, that is scary to think about, right? And is it using the right information to approve or deny an important surgery that you might need? Because your outcome is your bill and your health. So it's a hard thing right now, Jacob. Here, and then I mentioned the example of that lawsuit, and I won't mention the parties of that lawsuit because they're big names, but It's
Is it
starting to,
because of the bias of the creators? So for example,
yes,
so even though there's no human interaction, the creators of that AI or that tech sifting through all the documents, they're putting in keywords and buzzwords that they're looking for and not looking for. Is that what's going on?
that's right. And we don't know. I'm an optimist in general. I believe all people generally want to do good things. I think throughout time, you could show many examples where I'm wrong. However, I like to believe this technology is going to be embraced for the better, for the good. However, that means that whoever is building it had good intentions, yes, as I'm saying, but also did so with all the available information. Perhaps they missed something. Perhaps something very important in their data build was not right. And in so doing, it is without intent missing a category of individuals. Or back to the insurance carriers, not taking all factors they could have envisioned into account as to an approval or a denial. And so when we're talking about anything in employee benefits, which is a subset of HR in general, it certainly has to be looked at very, very carefully. And AI is something that is going to make this industry better, but we have to be super, super careful with it. No different than on the doctor side of the business, okay, the provider side of our industry. If we're looking at 3 million instances, I'm making it up, but 3 million instances of a medical condition, maybe it's a surgery, and we're looking at the outcomes, good outcomes, bad outcomes, everything in between. AI is helping us with that data, say, this is what happened here that was different from there. We need that. We need that to be done. We need it to be done to go through DNA and to find out different outcomes of different medications and different things. However, that all is incumbent in all the inputs of that data set being right. And so that's why I'm saying this is, we have to be very, very careful with what we do. And I think benefits are getting more modernized because we, yes, will be using AI very carefully, but careful is an important word here.
So when we're looking at the AI bias, what are they really looking or limiting? Is it the cost of the surgery? Is it the type of person that's getting the surgery? Because I know right now when it comes to, for example, education, even just university or college applications, a lot of schools are using AI and they're just filtering based on race, gender, and things like that. Like marks are there, but they're being a little bit biased with who they admit. So when it comes to the health insurance companies using this AI to filter through people, are they just looking at, okay, this costs $2 million denied? Or is it more of, this person has a history of, are they being more subjective with the AI, or is it just objectivity pretty much?
I'm hoping it's not just cost. And I don't have the inside knowledge to make a claim on that, and I wouldn't do so on behalf of the carriers. That's on them.
No,
So
that
that's
because
on
it
them. But it will lead, if they're doing it only on cost, they're going to be in a world of hurt one day, and they're going to be accountable for the outcomes of perhaps denied coverage for people that could have had very important things here. I don't like to believe it's just cost, but we're probably all naive if we believe cost isn't some impact in there,
it,
right?
it's a business, right? At the end of the
It's
day,
still a
so
business. It's still a business, and people are trying to control at the employer level their claims costs. And you could say that there are other ways to cure a medical condition. Maybe you don't need the $1 million surgery. Maybe there's a $10,000 way to correct something. So we could overcorrect in the medical world, and perhaps that is more how these carriers are looking at what they will cover or what they won't cover. And let's remember something too, and this is getting more complicated, but this is a complicated topic, and you have a sophisticated audience. There's a huge difference in the United States, especially on fully insured versus self-funded. And so if you are fully insured, that means that the insurance carriers are coming up with what will be covered in that plan design and what won't be. However, that changes in a self-insured world. In a self-insured world, big companies, they pay and take the risk on their own claims. And within boundaries, they're deciding what's going to be covered and what won't be covered. So people love to get mad at their insurance companies, but if it's a self-funded plan, That's the big employer that's saying these are the things that I'm willing to cover and these are the things I'm not, generally speaking. So it's not always on the insurance carrier. Oftentimes it's actually your big employer who's providing employee benefits. And that goes down to pharmaceuticals, which are called formularies. They have certain things in their formulary and certain things that they cover and don't cover. And I'm probably getting really
No, I'm loving this
down a
because
rabbit
I am
hole.
learning so much because I always thought that it was the insurance companies that made the final judgment call. But to realize that it's not only the insurance companies, but it can also be your employer because there are tons of employers who, out of their pocket, as you said, right, they self-fund the the surgeries and the medical care for their employees, and it doesn't really have to do much with the insurance company. So that's actually good to know. And I think a lot of people are going to awaken to not only blaming the insurance companies 100% of the time, but maybe they should also talk to their employer and say, hey, what's going on with this?
They should. They absolutely should. And it's easy to blame the insurance company. Who doesn't have fun trying to blame their insurance company? I want to go blame the insurance company. That's always a lot easier.
Let's
They're
go
the
get
big
the
bad guys.
billionaires.
Yeah, let's go get them. Let's go get them. That's more
and
fun. But that's
and so with health
that's
insurance, right, there's so much non-transparent, or there's not much transparency. So how does Lumity bring transparency to the health insurance world?
Yeah, in our technology, what we're able to do on the employer level specifically is we collect all those different renewals, and these different fully insured carriers are submitting what they think these insurance levels should cost for the next year. So let's say I'm an employer and I have 150 employees and I provide insurance to them right now. However, the claims behind the scenes show that their coverage or their usage of the benefits far exceeded what was expected cost wise. And so that gets submitted to the insurance companies to consider what they would charge that employer to earn their business. And then in the technology, we can take all those bids and those carriers can submit it directly into our technology and we can push a button and show the employer exactly everything. That's not always the case when you're working with an employee benefits brokerage firm. They don't always show you what's happening with every single carrier out there. And for us to use the technology to immediately communicate with the carriers, pull that information back in there, show it to the employer. You would think that's done all the time, but it's not. And do that every single year for every single coverage is really awesome. And it allows the employer to also think about, all right, how much of that full cost should they absorb, or how much should be owned, if you will, absorbed by the employee? And that's the employee's contribution of the total cost of the fully insured plan. That's a big thing. And we can use the technology to help us balance that out and figure out what else can be done. That's transparency. So on the employer level, that's how we do it there. And on the employee level, we can show them levels of their employee benefits plans on how they will be impacted cost wise and how the benefit programs could impact their final dollar, what their contributions are, and what they need to prepare for. And that's a big deal. How much money they should put in their HSA, which is a health savings account, which is tax deductible, which can help cover the deductible and different pieces of their insurance program, or copays or certain things not covered by their insurance plan that's medically allowed by the IRS.
And it also just pretty much is a simple way of accountability. Like healthcare, education, industrials, all these big industries, there is millions of dollars going to waste on, lack of administration or lack of this or lack of that. And they're just throwing money away. So I believe with Lumity's system technology, this is a good way not only to be a transparent, but also to be accountable. Like for example, here right now in Canada, the education system, a lot of school boards are just wasting money. They're just kind of doing things, trying things. And now the government is trying to take back the school boards and say, hey, we need to have some transparency and accountability. Where is the money going? Who is it going to? And I think with Lumity's technology, that is definitely a necessity. And so now that we're in kind of a remote hybrid system, are employee benefits changing? Maybe employers are thinking, hey, since you're at home 80% of the time, you don't need this coverage anymore. You don't need this coverage anymore. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, it's amazing how it's changing. GLP-1s, So the different weight loss injections that people are getting, Ozempic as an example, that's an example of something that 5, 10 years ago, we weren't thinking about it at all as an industry. And now as a community, as a population, we have to think about. And that's an enormous cost that was not included before. And I keep reading different articles. I'm seeing numbers all over the place as far as the cost impact that's having for that actual particular drug. Should it be covered, or should we be handing treadmills out to everybody? So, and I'm not trying to make light of a weight situation, but I'm saying, is that the best thing to cover? Is it something that should be addressed in a different way? Should we be educating people differently about how they consume food, what they eat, how they exercise when they do so, movement daily? Are there other ways to go about it? So I know I'm going to irritate people with that, but that's the reality. Is that the right answer? And so I think employee benefits are starting to say, we can't continue at 20% trend lines each and every year. It'll get to a point that nobody can afford it. At what point do you say, and this is almost an ethical question, at what point do you say it's great that we could have that one particular surgery that adds another year on a 99-year-old? It's going to add a year and it's going to cost $5 million for that extra year to get that 99-year-old to 100. I'm being extreme on purpose. Should we do it? Should we spend all that money for that extra year? So at what point, these are the dilemmas that really get brought up. And at what point do you say, no, that's not going to be covered?
That
We're not going to, if you had to have a surgery, and I remember there was some movie, I can't remember what it was. It was some movie, and the billionaire, the only way he was going to stay alive was to stay in space. And he had to stay in his spaceship, and he needed to stay up there to keep his cancer from growing. Well, maybe that's what we need to do for everybody. But how much would that cost? Are we going to cover that? So at what point do you start to say, we can't do those things? So that gets scary because that invites a lot of political consequences here. But that's a reality of the economic situation we're dealing with.
100%. And I mean, yeah, yeah.
Well, I was just going to say, that's the negative way of looking at it. Here's the great way of looking at it. We get to have these conversations, meaning we've had the privilege in this world, almost regardless of where you live, of seeing age rates go up, average lifespans go up. That means technology, medicines, etc., are made available that weren't here 50, 100, 150 years ago. You read in history of the average age being something like 48 years old, and I use that number because I'm 48 years old. So now knowing that it's 78 or 80, that's a big deal. And so, we need to also celebrate and be thankful for what we have in our world that is allowing people to have much longer, healthier lives. And I think we forget that in all this. We get caught up in the examples of these extreme cases where we're not looking at the macro situation, and that is look at the world getting better each and every year and look at what's available, even in what's coming up with CRISPR and gene editing and that's addressing so many different health conditions. That's going to be an employee benefits question before you know it. And what a blessing.
I totally agree with you, right? What are the limitations? What is ethically, morally correct? Are we going to spend that 5 million so, Lady Marmalade can have an extra year to get to 100? I mean, for some people, it seems very, very logical. For others, not logical. So I think, as you said, right, with the new companies coming up with CRISPR, gene editing, a lot of stem cell research, and everything that's happening in Europe. I know it's not allowed here, but I know in Europe it's totally happening.
Yeah, whoa. Don't bring up Europe. Whoa.
I just remember a lot of athletes going to Germany for those type of medical services. But
yeah, for stem cell services and injections and things. You're right.
yeah, but it's absolutely correct, right? How far does the human need now going to affect the employee benefits, the employer's benefits, the insurance companies? And so, since we're talking about the future, where do you see employee benefits in the next 5 years, 10 years? I know we said that we're going to be dealing with a lot of new moral ethics type of issues, but where does Lumity fit in with this? Is Lumity going to do it case by case? Are they going to say, you know what, if it's a human need, we'll go for it? What are your thoughts on that?
Oh, we've been spending a lot of time saying, what are the next phases coming in? Both our parent company and a little Lumity inside the parent company. How are we going to address this huge opportunity that we have, at least in the United States, on helping people get what they need. And I think there's going to be more efficiencies that come into our system, and we're ready to leverage that. And to me, that's actually quite exciting. So I know we have a tendency on this particular topic, especially in the US, to get negative about it, but taking it back to the positive, yes, we are ready to have some very interesting conversations on what happens. Back to GLP-1s, what happens if actually diabetic rates start going way down? And people keep that weight loss, which means cardiovascular rates go way down. And maybe the outcome is we should be covering it without question so that we can see the outcomes of that longer term, which could be very good news. Now, the opposite of that is it's bad news and there's some side effect and everybody's going to grow a third arm. But we don't know that yet. We don't know. So it's going to be exciting to watch what's available. And yes, Lumity is definitely adapting the technology and the services we offer to prepare for that. And I'm excited by it.
You know what? I'm excited too because I think Lumity should. I don't know if you guys are in Canada, but you guys should definitely come to Canada and start cleaning house. We got a lot of issues here. So Mike, let's take a little pivot here. We're gonna start talking about Finparency. So can you tell us more about Finparency? What it is, what you're trying to solve, and the reason you found it?
Sure. Finparency, the easiest way to say it is a two-sided marketplace between one side, the investors, private equity groups, family offices, that ecosystem, including investment bankers and consultants. And then over here, small business employers. And that can be anywhere in the world, but right now in the United States. Small business employers, I'll say less than 30 million. And there's a whole bunch. There's millions of them in the United States alone. And what we're seeing, and the reason why I wanted to found this organization, whatever the correct tense is on that, is because small business owners are skeptical of private equity. They're skeptical of what even a family office is. They don't know what an investment banking firm can do for them. They don't know where to go. We have 4,500 private equity groups in the United States, 4,000 family offices, 600 investment banking firms calling on those millions of employers that are less than 30 million in top line revenue. And my favorite example is, let's take Mike's Muffler Shop. And Mike's Muffler Shop, he's been in business for 25 years. He has 100 employees in 5 locations. And he's really been successful. He's at about $25 to $26 million of top line. His kids, he's 62. His kids want to be Instagram influencers and do podcasts. They don't want, no offense, I'm joking.
They can join the team.
Yeah. They don't want, they don't want to run the muffler shops. And so what's he going to do with his business? And he's received all these phone calls from private equity groups, but he doesn't know which ones are the right matchup with him. And he doesn't have the time to vet them all. And he doesn't have an investor relations team inside his organization because he's too small for that. So he's taking these calls or ignoring them. And at the same time, he's trying to operate his business. We're seeing, this is crazy to think about, but in the United States, we are seeing some of the Mikes of the Mike Muffler shops rationalize just shutting down and not even bothering to sell their business. That's happening here. And a lot of it is because of the silver tsunami, as it's being called here at least. The silver tsunami is people that are getting in their 60s and later 60s and not having those kids that they can pass the business to, shutting it down and moving into retirement, which is insane. So to me, this is an economic problem. And the reason why I wanted to address it, I was the CEO of an HR tech company for 3 years. And during that 3-year period of time, I received 281 different private equity groups that called me, then several other family offices and investment banking firms. And I did not have an investment relations person. That was me. And I realized, who in the world should I talk to? And I had enough in my background to know I'd better take some of those calls and get to know them. And in those 4,500 private equity groups, they all have certain things they want and need. They all have certain industries they're interested in. Some are doing landscaping roll-ups, other car wash roll-ups. Others, they want the founders to stay. Others, they don't want the founder to stay. Others have financial things they require. Their limited partners require it. So I tried to find a solution and I couldn't find it. And I realized there is not one. There is not one specifically that's trying to help the small business owner traverse this crazy world. And so that's exactly what Finparency.ai is doing. Finparency.com works too. And And right now, it's just a holding place for what's to come. We have MVP coming, minimum viable product coming in October with a full launch in January, February area. And we are working deep on our AI model. And moreover, we're going to help those small businesses get to investment grade before they even need to find an investment banker and make sure they're right. And there's consultants out there that can help. We are just the opening door and then help them get through certain areas to improve their valuation, to make sure they make the most money they can, and to keep them encouraged to stay focused on exiting the business so that they have something for their family that's much bigger than they would have thought. That was
You
a
know,
mouthful, but that's my passion for this.
that was amazing because I have actually seen exactly what you've seen. There is no middle person. There is no ground of connecting the two. Because when you think of private equity, when you think of, private firm, equity firm, you're thinking kind of like Shark Tank, right? They're going to come after your business. They're going to take it over. And then, you're kind of left with a few $1 million, but now you've lost your business. And I have talked to a lot of business owners and entrepreneurs who have exactly said that. They said, I don't want the bigger ones coming to try to help me because they'll just take over at the end. But I think it's more of a re-education, realizing that they don't want your small business. Of course, you're going to pay them to help you grow it, and that's their benefit, right? They're not going to take your business and try to grow your business. It's you tell them what you need done, and they're going to do it. And a lot of people also, entrepreneurs who are retiring, closing up shop, their kids, as you said, they're not looking to continue the family business. They want to be, dancing on TikTok, they're on YouTube, Instagramming. And unfortunately, that's the new generation. I think it's just more of a different business model that we're kind of entering, where the younger generation, they can do everything tech-wise. They'll have a business on TikTok, they'll have a business on Instagram. But then, you have John and Sally who had that pizzeria for 50 years not being able to adapt to the new digital world that we're in. And I think this is Finparency is doing an amazing job by connecting the investor to the small business. And what do you mean by investor grade? I know you said it's under 30 million for a small business, but what does investor grade actually mean?
Investment grade means getting A plus pricing for your company, valuation for your organization. Let me give you some examples. We can go through certain thresholds of your business, and I could ask a business owner about, since we were talking about insurance, what type of insurance levels do they have? Cyber insurance, what kind of risk protections do they have? Do they have the right things in place? Private equity groups, when they go through, or any investor, when they vet out some of the practices of that business, do they have the right bookings, the right insurance levels, a succession plan? They're going to ask certain things. And they collect all this information and it's put into what's called a data room. And your data room is where this information is going to be housed as maybe an investment banker helps you shop the marketplace to find the future owner and bid it and create a little bit of an auction. Well, in order to get you ready to get the most out of that business, so instead of getting 50 million for your business, you get $75 million for your business. You need to have certain things in place. And it sounds silly, but literally the right type of insurance levels, bookings, other things that are prepared for in advance could get your family, could get that owner millions and millions more for that business, because it hurts the private equity group's ability to negotiate it down. And they're not always just trying to be evil. They have certain things in their, for lack of a better term, terms and conditions with their investors inside the private equity group that say, we'll only invest in certain assets that have this set of criteria. And it's a checklist. So we might as well help that employer, that business owner, get that checklist as close to ready as possible before they go through it all. And that could take 2 years, which sounds intimidating, but it doesn't have to be. A lot of it is simple stuff. So to me, once you get through that checklist and you do so with a green light, you are investment grade. You are ready.
You know what? That totally makes sense, because if I were going to, like, I mean, it's just like investing in stocks. I'm not just going to blindly say, okay, I'm just going to buy this company. Guess what I'm doing? I'm looking at their previous financial records. What are the future outlooks? I'm listening to their webinars, their workshops. So I think being investment grade is not only mitigating risk for the investor, but it also is going to level you up. If you were making 30, 40 million a year, after your investment grade checklist, as you said, you might be hitting the 70, $80 million a year. So I think being investment grade and having a checklist that you need to adhere to before investors look at you, I think that's definitely like necessary, because there's so many businesses that don't have anything and they wonder why they failed. Well, this is why you failed. So when we're looking at Finparency's technology, how does it match the investor with the small business? Other than the checklist, like, is there another strategy or method that it uses?
Oh, we've been collecting attributes from investors and then small businesses, using those attributes with different scales and starting to really match it up so that our AI engine can find the right type of investors for that small business owner. And so it's been unbelievable. The engineers that we have in place, one is my gosh, this guy is so smart. The way he looks at the world, and somebody else with a ton of AI experience, how they've built out this entire way of matching it up. And I never knew what some of these terms meant. So I'm about to show how stupid I am in this topic. But the Vectrum database that they put everything in and it matches one side to the other, they've taught me a lot. So obviously, you know where my skill set is compared to theirs. But we are getting the attributes of small businesses so that you're almost putting them through a filter and you know this is what they should be on this topic. So if you have a scale, I'm making it very simple because we have our secret sauce here. I don't want to say too much on, but let's say it's a 1 to 10 scoring on every single attribute. And every small business owner has 40 attributes. And then all the investors have 30 to 40 attributes with the 1 to 10 scoring and all those things. All of a sudden, you're starting to build out exactly how they match. And as you sift through it, as if you're sifting for gold through the mud, you start to say, look at that. These 22 private equity groups out of 4,500 are a perfect match for this small business owner to get to know. 22 is still a lot, but that's a starting point. And you're going to narrow it down further throughout the process. But that's a great place to start.
It's for the average person, they're probably thinking of it as like, connect the dots. It's like, oh, okay, let's connect this, connect this, connect this, because that's how I'm seeing it, and it totally makes sense, right? It's like a filter. Once you get through your filters and you're connect, kind of like matchmaking, right? Like, are you gonna swipe left or are you gonna swipe right? Are you going, which one are you gonna pick based on the criteria, right? So I think that's very well done, and I'm sure your secret sauce is very top notch, where it's going to expand and grow to not only small businesses, but I can see it going into even the larger businesses, independent businesses, and so on. And so, what are some of the red flags that investors look for and then kind of stay away from? I know a lot of my viewers are small business owners, entrepreneurs, and they would love to know, what are some red flags that investors are like, nope, I am not even going there.
Yeah, some basic stuff here. If you don't have the proper bookings in place, the books of your business, and it's a mess, and you can't show your accounting practices for the last 2, 3 years, that is an enormous red flag. That is probably the number one red flag that people are worried about. And you got to go and find the right accounting firm to help you get your bookings corrected. It is not that hard to do. You might have to sit down and pull your hair out for a little while getting all the paperwork together, but do it. That's the number one thing that people will run away from. So you've got to have that in place. The second thing is, even if it's not a business that's been growing at the level that you would want, think about for a minute, how could you make it a little bit more interesting and grow a little? There's got to be certain things that you could do for your business to help it grow a bit, and find the right partner. There are some great consultants out there that can help you in that. I'm not saying you have to go spend $1 million on McKinsey or 10, but you can do a little bit of things to help you get through that. Focus on the bookings. Make sure you have the right insurance levels. Work with an insurance broker in that. I think that's really important. And even if you think, well, I'm Mike's Muffler Shops, I don't need cybersecurity insurance. If you're holding your client's data, the people that come in to have their cars worked on, now you have something that could be hacked and you need cyber insurance. And a lot of businesses just don't think they need it. That's a red flag. So that would be a red flag where an investor's saying, you're scary to us. That's a huge risk. We don't want to touch it. Insurance levels are important. Bookings are important. I would think about, where do you want to take this business? Do you want to stay with it? Can you answer that question? If you can't answer that question, that's a tough one. So you need to have that answer ready.
So you
If you don't have a
actually have to
succession plan,
reflect on
I
your
think that's important.
business. So you actually have to reflect on your business. You can't just fudge numbers, kind of make it up and hope an investor will believe, your bullshit. You actually have to
Yeah.
do the due diligence and make sure your paperwork, your bookings are right. You're up to date with modern times. Because I mean, I'm sure John and Sally's Pizzeria for 50 years doesn't know what cybersecurity is, right? And so even though they're doing online orders, it can still be hackable. But yeah, no, that's a very, very good point. And so when a small business does get that investor, right? They got that investor, they've done the 2 years of checklist. What does the investor now do for them?
That investor can help them find a path to exiting that business if they want. And they may even say, I've changed my mind and I don't want to exit the business. That's okay. You don't have to sell. So I think that's so important in this. I think it's just such a great opportunity for you as an owner of a business to say, I at least want optionality. I at least want to understand what my choices are. It's something else in this, back to your previous question, and that is, who are your customers? Do you have a CRM? Do you have a customer database for all the customers that you've serviced? Maybe you don't, but have you thought about starting one? That is a red flag for a lot of investors. They walk away from that. If you don't have the ability to show what your customer base is, better yet, you can show repeat customers and have that data. That really helps your valuation. So if you're thinking 2 to 5 years from now, you might sell your business. Heck, it might be 10. Think about putting a system in place to start looking at who are your customers? How often do they buy from you? How do you expand that? It doesn't have to be overwhelming. And there's a lot of inexpensive softwares that can do that for you.
Yeah, I think that's what it is, right? People just don't know how to access resources. People need to just be kind of re-educated with the new business platforms and the business models that we currently are going through. And so, what industries or small business sectors do you think investors are really getting the most interest from? Is it retail? Is it food and beverage? Is it, a clothing line? What industries currently do you see investors really flocking towards?
I wish this was a community question where I could debate it with a million people. I'm going to argue every single industry right now is of hot interest. And you know why? There's so much cash on the sidelines and there's so many investment categories out there, meaning there's so many investors. As I said earlier, there's 4,500 private equity groups in the United States alone, 4,000 approximate family offices. So we have 8,500 entities, and that's before the strategics. The strategics are big companies that are trying to buy things. So due to that, every single industry is of interest. Brad Jacobs is a well-known billionaire. He wrote How to Make $1 Billion. I'm giving him a commercial, and I shouldn't even give him a commercial. I don't get a royalty, but he's getting a commercial from me right now. Read that book. Read that book. And here's a gentleman that rolled up trash companies and he turned it into waste management. He rolled up little rental companies and he turned it into United Rentals. He's done this 4 or 5 times and he's now in the middle of doing it for the roofing industry. So when I say literally, and I mean literally, every industry is getting attention right now. I know investors that are rolling up landscape companies, that are rolling up car washes, they're rolling up HVAC companies. And you'd say, what's the sex appeal of that? The sex appeal is scale. And as you start to roll those companies up, and you can take AI and apply some of the practices across all those different businesses. Let's say you buy 200 dry cleaners. Which ones are operating the best? And you can come up with some AI metrics to measure each and pull out the winner and apply that winner's management of that one dry cleaning practice to the remaining 200. That's how those companies are making $1 billion. They're taking something that they can scale across the volume of businesses they've bought. So you're seeing investors entering areas they have never before.
And that's, what, all good for all thanks to AI and technology and strategies and being able to take one formula and replicate it to hundreds or even thousands of different businesses. And I really love that right now every sector is being included in the world of investing, because as you can tell right now, the global issues. There's so much global things happening with tariffs, businesses closing down. Of course, we have conflicts in the world. Because of all of that, a lot of businesses are wondering, where am I going to get funding from? So on that topic, are is what's going on in the world affecting investments or affecting these investors and how they fund?
Yeah, absolutely. The unknown is the biggest problem. The unknown. We want, as an investor, and you know this, you've been doing this for a long time, right, Jacob? And you and I know your background a little bit on what you've been doing and where you want to encourage people to put money. And I'd love to hear a little bit about that too. But uh, I think the unknown is poison for business. So are we going to have tariffs? Of course. Okay, well, what are they? Well, we don't know yet. What? That's not good. Are interest rates going to go up or down? Well, we don't know. What? So we need some answers. We need some clarity. The longer we go with the unknown, the worse off it is for business decision making. And well, everybody has big goals. I don't know anybody that has a light goal. Everybody has a big goal. So you have big goals. That's incumbent on having some knowledge of what's going to happen out there. And unknown is a part of everything. Of course, a lot's going to be unknown, but we need some knowledge. To me, that's the biggest thing that's holding us back. And whether you like this administration or not in the United States, some decisions are getting made, but I would encourage them to go faster on the ones that aren't. Because that's what we need in the business community is we need to know at least some direction of where the wind is coming from.
I agree. The unknown is actually hurting a lot of industries. I'm sure we were all there during what, February, March, April, where tariffs were going back and forth. One day 30%, the next day no, you're getting 80%. The next day no. Okay, you know what? 30-day pause. It's like, what is actually happening? And the markets are, of course, showing that, and businesses are showing that as well because of it. And so now, as a CEO and founder, and you have these two major companies that you are dealing with, even though they're very similar, they're also very different. How do you kind of balance literally dealing with these two companies, because they're both very, very amazing companies, very helpful, but as a CEO, I'm sure your time is very thin.
Let me tell you, I'm putting a lot of hours in right now. And Lumity, I am all in on Lumity because there's a lot we need to get right in these next 6 months. And we're doing a lot of amazing things and making huge change inside Lumity. So that's been a lot of fun in a short period of time. So that's been my focus. But my evenings and weekends, much to the dismay of my family some nights, but they've been patient with me and they've given me grace, is going towards Finparency as we build and move towards our launch. So I'm finding the right balance, and I haven't been thrown out of the house yet.
The only reason I ask is because there's a lot of entrepreneurs who are also in the same position. They're balancing a couple of businesses. They also have family time, personal time, friends, and so on. And I always get the question, how do you balance work, life, family, and so on? So it's actually good to know that you are able to balance it. And so with these two companies, where do you see them maybe in the next 3 to 5 years? I know they're both definitely going to expand because they are necessities, I would say, currently. But where do you see them in 3 to 5 years?
I think that's such a huge question. And here it gets documented my answer. So we'll see if I'm right one day. I see Lumity tripling or quadrupling in the next just few years alone because there's so much adhesion we're seeing inside the broader organization that we're owned by. All of a sudden, we have all this interest. So Lumity is going through enormous growth mode right now, and that's very, very exciting. And if you judge us on our website, you'll be disappointed. We're going to blow up that website and completely redo it in the next 2 months. So don't judge me on the website. Stay tuned. But Finparency, I expect we're going to have enormous growth out of Finparency as well. We'll have our soft launch coming in October, a very hard launch in January and February. And based on the interest I have already from investors I know, and investors have reached out to me in LinkedIn and a lot of small businesses, I expect fast growth there. I also expect I'll have the unexpected to deal with Finparency, and we'll be making some pivots because I think it solves some other problems. I'm trying to stay focused to the core, but I've been asked already to handle some other things in there. So for either business, you can reach out to me on the website, but for Finparency specifically, you can sign up to stay attuned to when this is coming. And if you're a small business owner, especially, I would encourage you to do that. I'm not selling your information, but you can put it out there and simply, I know when you're ready to have a conversation with us, even if you never sell your business, that's okay.
Yeah, so my audience, I'm going to have all of Lumity and Finparency's information and all of Mike's information in the description box. So that way you can definitely check them out. I personally will definitely be sharing this with all my entrepreneur friends because they're always looking for investors. They're always looking to scale. They're always looking for something to expand what they're already doing. But, you may not know where to start or who to contact. So, Mike, this was amazing. On this channel, we do have a small segment where I do ask you 3 out of the box questions that have nothing to do with our interview. Are you
Uh-oh.
up for it?
I don't know. I don't know. Yes, of course. Go for it. I'm ready.
Okay, the first question. If Lumity and Finparency were people, what kind of personalities would they have?
Oh my gosh. All right. That's interesting. I view Lumini as an academic, a teacher. How about that? I think that is a professor, okay, an economist, perhaps, because there's so many different things that it is really addressing financially. I view Finparency as your trusted friend. You could sit down and have a beer with and try to figure out how you're going to get through this. Hence, that's the name I came up with, Finparency. I want that small business owner to know that we are going to get them through it. So that's the personality type, is somebody that is sitting down and having a beer with you.
I
Or if you
love that because
spritzer.
no, I love that because whenever you are making a business deal or having that business conversation, you're usually with a friend or a mentor or someone that you're working with. So I can actually vision that. That's amazing. Second question, what's the most random app that you've downloaded in the past or you currently downloaded? Some people have a sunset app, some have a meditation app. What random app do
Uh,
you have?
oh, it's so boring. It's so boring. You're going to hate this. So, but I have 6 different calendars for numerous reasons. I have 6 different, and I'm not bragging about that. I hate it. I have 6 different, and they're not communicating correctly. So I just downloaded reclaim.ai, and that is pulling all these calendars into one environment and doing something like this, and it allows me to add some sanity. But that's a boring answer. I'm a scuba diver as well, and so I'm an
Oh.
SDI, which is a an app there that's perhaps a little bit more interesting. I know neither one of those are very sexy, so that's a disappointing answer.
No, that is amazing. And you know what? With the whole calendar thing, oh, trust me, I don't have 6, but I do have 3 calendars on the go. So I might have to check out the Reclaim app because I need everything all in one. Because you have like different calendars from different platforms. So if it can come into
Oh,
one, life would be a lot easier. And the last question, if you were not in finance, business, any of that nature, I know you say you're a scuba diver, but what totally unrelated career would you have gone into?
oh wow. I love cars.
Nice.
I have you ever watched Top Gear with Jeremy Clarkson?
Oh, definitely.
I think he's won the lottery many times over because of what he chose to do. So I love cars. I'd be a car reviewer. That's what I would do.
I would see his videos sometimes just randomly on YouTube, and he would get the most classic cars. He'll get the most
Ah,
modern cars. And I'm like, where did these cars come from? I'm like, are these from like George Clooney's like, personal collection or something? But that's actually a really good one. Cars. I love that.
oh, cars. We just took my 18-year-old to college and we moved him in last Tuesday, which is its own emotion to it. But he and I are just real car guys, my son and I. And I finally have Instagram. And these reels of these different car enthusiasts, it's killing me. I bet I have 50 already.
Probably
That
a
are
lot of
so
sleepless
distracting.
nights scrolling through, watching the
Oh my
videos.
gosh. Some of these 80s cars I love. So, anyways, it's a lot of fun.
No, it is. It is. Cars are the best. I love it. So Mike, so thank you so much for the amazing wisdom and expertise. Honestly, I learned so much about the health insurance industry, and I've also learned a lot about how investors connect with small businesses, especially with the investment grade terminology. I think that is one that a lot of people are going to start looking into because a lot of people who have businesses, they don't know about this checklist, not only for Finparency, but I'm sure other investors kind of have a similar checklist. So I think this is definitely excellent knowledge. And so before we end our interview, is there any last minute shout outs, events coming up, mentions that you would like to say? The platform
Well,
is yours.
just simply to you. Thank you for the
Oh,
time, Jacob. You've been doing this a little while too. So when did you start with some of the podcasts?
Thank you for asking me. So during the COVID lockdowns 2020, everyone was at home. We're all watching YouTube. Personally, I was watching a lot of finance, stocks, trying to invest, see what was going on in that world. But a lot of the videos, they were very monotone. It wasn't exciting. And so I would sometimes fall asleep to it. And not only that, but a lot of their information was very incorrect based on the sponsors or the brand deals that they got. So about 5, 6 months later, probably the beginning of 2021, I said, you know what? Let me give this a shot. I know I might be crappy for the first few months, but let me give it a shot. And for the first 3 months, 4 months, it was a learning experience. I learned how to use a camera, how to edit, and so on. But then by the 6th month, I would say mid 2021, that's when my channel started picking up. I started getting more sponsors, brand deals. But the best part is, I'm not succumbing to what their needs are. I'll take a sponsorship, I'll take a brand deal, but I'm still going to be true to my audience. So I always tell my audience, do your own due diligence. I'm not bought by anybody, so there's no lobbying on my side. I just like to tell it how it is, interview amazing people, CEOs, inventors, academics, and just enjoy a great conversation with another, genius, another expert. So that's the reason I started, and it's taken off. It's been 4 years now, and I hope to do this for as long as I can and show the world more things.
Well, you're awesome at it, and you have the exact personality. So it's perfect for it. Thank you.
I I appreciate it. I'm sure if you see some of my other videos, I have like kind of like a big bow tie. I have like a little clown hat. It's just to kind of get the viewers talking. But my passion is having these great conversations, learning. I'm a lifelong learner, so I love learning. And so I'm sure my audience is the same. So it's always fun with learning.
That is well said. Thank you very much.
No problem at all. Audience members, I'm going to have all of Mike's information, Lumity's information, and Finparency's information in the description box. Please check them out. I know many of you are small business owners. So if you're having insurance problems, Lumity. If you're having investor problems trying to connect with someone, Finparency. Or if you just want to get a great laugh from Mike, you can email him and message him as well. Mike, I know it's a busy time. Thank you so much for sitting here with me today. We are definitely going to have you back on. I know you said you have a few projects coming up around January, February, even maybe before that. We'll have you on, and we would love to hear your progress. Audience, like, subscribe, and until the next time, stay ranting.